And I'm Jim Codrington. We're here in downtown Atlanta at the Central United Methodist Church. Years ago, they planted a prayer garden, and because of the climate here, it's grown quite a bit.
And it's going to take a whole lot more than just pruning and weeding to bring it back to its former beauty.
So over the next 48 hours, with the help of the congregation, we're going to give this prayer garden a divine restoration.
It's divine restoration. It's divine.
Oh, what an inspiration.
What an inspiration. We're gonna make this work. Make this work.
And repair our church.
It's divine restoration.
Central United Methodist Church was known as the Little Red Church on the Hill. It was founded in 1866, and it stood on this Atlanta location for the past 75 years. Its motto is the church in the heart of the city with the heart, and boy, this church has a big heart.
Their hearts may be big, but their garden needs a transplant. All we need to bring this place back to life is a lot of work.
I have here with me Miss Divine Stephanie Brooks, who's doing divine work here at the church. Tell us about your involvement here.
Well, I'm a greeter at Central, and I work with the tape ministry.
Okay, wait, back up. What's
Okay.
a greeter?
A greeter is like when you first come into the church. If there's an usher there, an usher would hand you a bulletin and, let you know where we are in the service and maybe escort you to your seat. But a greeter would say, "Hi, Catherine. How are you today? Oh, honey, you look so good today. You just look beautiful."
Okay.
And then we would just let you go to the usher or wherever your seat. But a greeter really greets you, tries to make you feel welcome as soon as you walk in the door.
The garden holds personal significance to you because you were married in it.
Yes, now we weren't married in the garden.
okay.
That's okay. We were married in the church, and we just spilled out into there. We had a nice steel band out there. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Yeah.
So now the garden's going to be freshened up.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be completely different.
Yes, this should really motivate us to use it like we should.
Well, it's going to be a multifunctional space.
Right,
You have a
right.
space to
Oh,
relax,
that's
to
great.
reflect. It's going to be gorgeous.
That's great.
All right.
What we thought we would do to start off with is pull up all the foliage, but we will definitely leave all the trees.
This space here, we're going to split it up into 3 areas. We're going to do some landscaping on either side, and then down the middle, we're going to do some hardscaping. We're going to be installing a water feature because isn't it great to sit in a garden and listen to the sounds of trickling water? It's so
Yes.
relaxing.
How tall, how big, how?
You're going to have to wait to find out.
Okay.
And then right behind it, we're going to have a monument right here with some words of inspiration.
Oh, that's nice.
And everything can be enjoyed by sitting and reflecting on the garden on a bench that's going to be installed right in the corner here. You can sit here and just take in the new garden.
It'll be like a real prayer garden.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's nice.
absolutely.
That's nice. Can you do it in 48 hours?
Do you think we can do it in 48 hours?
No.
As the volunteers clear the courtyard of diseased and dead plants,
Rose bush.
healthy trees and bushes are transplanted around the church. When we were trying to figure out where to place a dumpster for this project, our first concept was to put it at the top of these stairs outside the gate. But upon reflection, we decided to put it on the other side of the church and bring everything out through the church basement. That way, everything's on a flat plane, and we can expend all of our energy digging and pulling and heaving rather than bringing up all these steps. And that's a word to the wise when you're placing a dumpster. Always take the path of least resistance.
Believe it. I can't even get down there.
Even the big one on the up against the building is coming out. Yeah.
This is Michael Potts from Potts Landscape Design. He's the landscape designer who's overseeing this whole project. Michael, what are the challenges in this garden?
Well, the first challenge we have is working in a patio hardscape into this existing slope here. One of the other challenges is, as you can see, getting rid of some of these larger plants that have been here for several years with big, huge roots.
Now, how about this water feature that's going to be right here? How are we going to get the water to the water feature?
The water feature is going to be a fountain
Okay.
with an electric pump, which actually recirculates the water so that there's no need for a constant water supply. You fill it up one time, plug it up, and it keeps going. What I've done was I've lined the exterior of the garden with evergreen plants so that you'll always have deep evergreen color. And evergreen doesn't necessarily mean the plants are dark green. That just means that they don't lose their leaves at any time during the year. So you want the exterior of the garden to always be full. So I haven't used any deciduous plants on the exterior, and we'll have our color provided through annuals, the blooms on some of the plants, the crepe myrtles, and the bloom on the cherry tree will provide annual color.
That's enough talking. Let's get back to work, all right, Mike?
All right, Jim.
Cool.
120. The base of the fountain going in here is going to be 40 inches, and I want at least 40 inches on either side for wheelchair access.
Pastor Gray, we finally got a hold of you. You are so hard to track down. You are all over this church.
Well, yes, I am. I stay pretty busy once I get here every day.
What is the significance of this neighborhood to Atlanta?
Well, this is an old historic neighborhood called the Vine City community. Vine City has long been predominantly an African-American community here in Atlanta. You can see right around us that there's a lot of development that's taken place. The Georgia Dome was built not too long ago in the Georgia World Congress Center. And of course now there's a lot of development in terms of housing that's being put into this neighborhood. Well, there is a lot of poverty in the neighborhood. According to the 2000 census, I would say about 20% or more of the people who live in this neighborhood are at or below the poverty level. This area also has one of the highest areas of HIV/AIDS sufferers, you know, in not only in Metro Atlanta but in the Southeast. And we see quite a few of the people just who are homeless sometimes, who are ill, coming through this neighborhood asking for help.
Right. So this church has a lot of work to do in the community.
Between the many volunteers and the landscape professionals, we're on schedule to get this garden done in 48 hours.
We're in downtown Atlanta at the Central United Methodist Church, and work on restoring their prayer garden is well underway. Annette Hampton has been coming to this church for 80 years.
The prayer garden has a most interesting history because it really started off as a playground when this church came to this site in 1929. The women from the United Methodist Church of Central banded together and started planting roses and flowers and making it very, very pretty. It became what we called the prayer garden. And it just ran down. You looked one day and you didn't know what had happened. It wasn't beautiful anymore.
We're going to map out our fountain distance. When we set this area in here, there's going to be a ramp going in. And the ramp is going to be going in so that we can have wheelchair access and everything like that coming through here. The wall's necessary for the gradual decline. We want to make sure that when descending on this ramp in a wheelchair or however, that you're not going to run into the fountain. So we only have a limited amount of space to work with it from this end back to this end. So what we want to know is from this point forward, where our fountain is going to sit, where the center area is going to be, and then we're going to ramp off our descent, basically. So as of this point here, and this is going to go level with this, and this is going to be our dramatic descent right here. Got it.
This is Starla Bailey. Tell us, how did you become involved with the church?
I started as a little girl. My parents lived in an apartment that was right across the street from the church within walking distance. And I guess maybe just one Sunday morning, they got up and decided to walk over this way with me in tow, and been here ever since.
You've been a member here since you were 2. So what are your fondest memories of the garden?
We used to have Sunday school, which is it was in the old building that's kind of directly across from the sanctuary. We would just kind of cut through the garden and run around until we were chased out. As we got older, began to understand really what the prayer garden was for.
Was it really lush back then? Was it like
was beautiful.
So what do you think about how it's looking now?
Well, it's kind of disappointing, really, because I remember, you know, what it was looking like before and how beautiful it was, and those gates were always, you know, open, and it was just really it was really attractive. But I am excited about the restoration project. I think it's been a long time coming, so I'm excited about it.
It's gonna look gorgeous, and we're putting so many new plants in there. It's gonna be nice and tidy and stylized.
Good.
Yeah, so your little ones can run through it just as you did.
Exactly.
The new doors are going in right on schedule.
This side over here, Jay.
But we keep running into things buried in the garden.
What do you think that is? How about if I get down there with the shovel?
Yeah.
These delays are starting to slow us down.
Oh, clay sewer cap.
I think it's an old sewer cap.
An ancient artifact.
Central United has an active dance troupe. I was happy to catch them rehearsing.
This is a beautiful collection of girls we've got here.
Well, thank you.
You guys are great dancers. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been dancing for 8 years, so it's been a really long road doing dance.
Long road, and there's even longer ahead.
Yes,
huh?
there is.
Do you enjoy it though?
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
we've actually only been at Central, I guess, up and running since about 5 years, since I've been back here in the city. A lot of them are trained dancers, and as I am myself. And I think part of why we started the ministry is because all of them have a love for dance, as I do, but we also have a love for God. So we wanted to use both of those in service to Him, and they enjoy it probably 10 times more each time we get together. So, and we get a great response from the congregation, so that keeps us going.
Well, I can't wait to see what you got.
Well, we'd like for you to join us. Okay, Catherine, are you ready? We're gonna get started, and we're just gonna obviously start from the beginning.
Okay.
So if you would just always make your expression, match your hand movements and leg movements, that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay. Good job.
The garden isn't even finished and you're already meditating.
It was sunset, we had to stop.
Already?
I asked the volunteers to be back at the crack of dawn.
Well, there's a lot going on at the church tomorrow. I hope you can get enough volunteers out. Crack of dawn?
It's day 2 in Atlanta, and the restoration of the prayer garden at Central United Methodist has been going great, until Jim and the volunteers ran into some hidden surprises.
Things were going along really smoothly when we ran into this mysterious pipe. So we've got to dig it out, figure out where it goes to and what it is before we can move on. This could be problematic.
As long as it's tight, we feel, hey, let it stay, and we just bury it underneath. But make sure that the final depth on this is going to be the 13.5-inch depth.
Right,
That way
so
it'll be properly covered with the aggregate, sand, and the paper.
Cool. Justin Calvino is a hardscape expert who's in charge of the installation of the water feature and the monument. Now, Justin, we got a pretty uneven surface here. What kind of problems does that pose?
It poses a problem based on the time constraints in which we had 48 hours to meet. Also, a certain sect of the population was elderly, so we had to deal with the, making sure that everything was level and surfaces, wheelchair accessible for ramps and for walkers and such. And drainage. Drainage was a big issue.
Okay, so what did you do to accommodate the drainage issues?
Drainage, basically, with a project like this, being in a courtyard and an existing building and the age of the building, we wanted to make sure that we weren't messing with the original drainage system, seeing as there's nowhere else to put the water, and we don't want to get into that, especially with our time constraints.
So where are we at right now, Justin?
Right now, we're at basically almost finished with final excavation. We feel the pipe situation is behind us. They're covering it up as we speak. So we're ready to put gravel on and start compacting.
Good, let's get to it.
This restoration seems to be restoring the church's community spirit as well. There are far more volunteers here today than anyone expected.
I think it's going to be a grand place if we ever finish.
some legal advice, you have to call Natasha Brown. She's a lawyer. How do you integrate your skills with what's going on in the church?
We're always being told at the church that whatever we do outside the church, we need to bring into the church and use it in ministry. And one of the ways that I use that and the other attorneys at our church is we serve in our legal ministry. And our legal ministry is made up of the attorneys, judges, paralegals, or anyone interested in the legal field. And we just try to serve as a filtering station for the church for contracts and any legal questions that they may have. I absolutely love my church, and I know everyone says that and they say that they love their church, but I really feel like I'm a part of a family here. It's not a church that's too big or a church that's too small. It's just the right place to be, and everybody can fit in. There's a place for everybody. We have so many ministries that you can't help but find a place where you can serve, and it's a place where you feel loved. You feel that people care about you. Whatever you need, there's someone at this church that's willing to help you out, and so it makes me feel really, really good knowing that.
It's now Saturday afternoon, and we're finally ready to start adding the greenery. Plants have arrived. We've carefully selected plants that grow best in this soil and in these light conditions, so in a few months they'll be big and lush. Something as heavy as that new concrete bench has to be carefully leveled. A little bit of a progress report for you. First of all, the volunteers have done an amazing job planting the shrubbery. We've got a new door installed and painted. Old door still has to be painted. The pavers are partially installed, the monument's in. We've got a beautiful circle pattern and wiring for a water feature. Now, my primary concern at the moment is there doesn't seem to be any feature in our water feature, which leaves us with just water. While we wait for the fountain, I think I'll join the choir as they rehearse.
Garden's finally taking shape.
It's amazing what you can find in here.
The volunteers are rallying for a final push to complete the planting in the prayer garden.
Oh, let me guess. You were lured away by the music.
Well, actually, I was working so hard that I needed a little inspiration to keep me going.
Well, take a look at the garden, Jim. It's looking a little bit bare.
Well, actually, these plants are going to grow in and fill the space.
That could take months, which we don't have. We need it to look good right now.
But it's 5 o'clock. Do you really think that we can find a nursery that's going to deliver today?
It's cutting it a little bit close. I'll see what I can do.
It's Sunday morning in downtown Atlanta, and the members of Central United Methodist Church are arriving for service. Their new prayer garden came together better than anyone could have hoped in just 48 hours. The additional plants I ordered arrived just in time, making the garden lush and full of life for the unveiling.
Forecast called for rain.
Good for the greenery, kind of wet for the congregation.
see what can happen when we can come together as a community with a plan that's before us, with a purpose, with a vision that we have to get something accomplished. I think we did something that I'd say a few months ago we had not dreamed we could do.
In that prayer garden on Friday night, they began to uproot things that had been there so long. But they didn't just pull it out. They replaced it with new and beautiful shrubbery. And I believe that here at Central, God is calling us to uproot some things. Uproot some hurt. And replace it, Lord, with some new and beautiful things that we might declare spiritually, we have been divinely restored.
The transformation really is remarkable. When the garden matures and the brown sod becomes its seasonal green, this prayer garden will be rich, vibrant, and inspirational. The fountain is a beautiful centerpiece, and the new landscaping lends itself to calm reflection. The volunteers did a great job.
Let's go! Look at this space. Fantastic.
Isn't that beautiful?
Beautiful fountain. You get a good view of the garden.
I can feel the Spirit of the Lord out here waiting for us to come.
I think it's a place that we're all going to come and pray.
I just knew it was going to be fantastic.
The congregation is pleased with the wonderful transformation of the prayer garden.
I used to play out here as a little girl.
You did?
I'm going to ask Jim and Catherine now to come and join me in the cutting of the ribbon.
Now this is what I call a water feature.
But I find the rain only makes it more meditative.
Well, meditate on this. It's time for us to move on to our next restoration.